Women may hold up half the sky, but despite progress across the globe in educating, employing, and empowering women, many still do not have equal rights, access to opportunities, and safety from violence, with the COVID-19 pandemic further underscoring such inequalities. As we mark Women's Month, CNA Correspondent takes a look at how women in Asia are finding strength in numbers, helping each other rise up the economic ladder, achieve independence, and protect the weakest in their community. Starting off here in Indonesia with one woman who's providing a safe and inclusive space for women to work in.
It's 7 a.m. and Ratna's morning begins like every other one, buying porridge for her family, feeding her sick mother, and cleaning her home, all before heading off to work. I meet Ratna as she's finishing up her morning routine. The 20-year-old is the sole breadwinner of her family of 5, with 2 aged and ailing parents to take care of, 2 younger siblings to watch over, and part-time college to attend. Ratna never imagined she would be able to provide for her family, let alone have a job.
Yang boleh kerja tuh hanya ayah saya, dan ayah saya pernah bilang dulu ke saya sebelum dia stroke, kan sekarang udah nggak bisa ngomong. Jadi kayak pernah bilang, perempuan mah nanti ujungnya juga ke dapur, ngurusin anak. Ternyata hal yang dulu saya pikir cuma bisa dilakuin laki-laki, itu perempuan juga bisa lakuin.
Getting her parents to agree wasn't easy, but Ratna's persistence paid off.
Setelah di high cup, saya belajar buat ngomong, saya belajar buat percaya diri. Terus saya dari yang tadinya nggak bisa ketemu banyak orang, jadi bisa ketemu banyak orang. Terus terlebih dari segi finansial sih, saya bisa bayar kuliah saya sendiri. Kadang adik saya kalau minta kuota atau kayak uang jajan, itu kadang ke saya.
Ratna works at a High Cups outlet in Banten province. It's an Indonesian beverage chain serving cold, sweet, fruity drinks with various toppings at pocket-friendly prices.
Prices for drinks here start as little as some 50 cents for a lemon tea without the tapioca pearls. The most expensive ones include this brown sugar boba milk, this avo choco drink, or even what I'm drinking, which is a cappuccino with an additional topping of boba, which costs about $1 US. In other cafes, these types of drinks at this relatively large cup size cost upwards of $1.40.
But High Cups is not like any other company. Started at the end of 2019 by then 27-year-old Kathleen Gondo Utomo, High Cups was created with a very specific goal: to provide sustainable employment and teach valuable business skills to unemployed women in Indonesia's smaller cities. Kathleen's desire to help women took root in her college years, when she and some friends founded an NGO to teach English to children in remote areas across the archipelago.
I realized that there are some basic things that only preserved for men. In particular, at that time I met Nia. Nia is a 13-year-old girl from Aceh. At such a young age, she already got married. I met hundreds of other Nia, and that's when I decided myself since then to dedicate myself to make a positive contribution for women in remote areas in Indonesia.
Using $300 US of her own money as an initial investment, Kathleen did everything on her own, from finding spaces to sales, customer service, recruitment, and expanding the business. Aside from bootstrapping it, she also had to convince her family and friends about why she wanted to leave her lucrative career at a major corporation to do this.
They were confused as why such an idyllic educated with a magna cum laude degree would like to go to tier 2 and tier 3 to sell a 50-cent drinks, right? It doesn't make sense for them, right? But then as time passes, we double down on our conviction in women empowerment. We've grown a networks of strong, ambitious women, and we've seen how they have been doubled or even tripled the income of the whole family.
High Cups became profitable after a year. From its first outlet in Banten, the company now has 50 outlets spread across 16 cities in 4 provinces. Up to 90% of its employees are women, not just making and selling drinks, but also handling most aspects of the business, from finance to R&D. Most are from backgrounds where it's rare for a woman to have a job. 2020 government data shows women make up just over 49% of Indonesia's 270 million population. But their labor force participation rate is at a low 53.13% compared to men at 82.41%. Only 33% of women hold managerial positions in the public and private sectors, and women earn 23% less than men. Aside from workplace challenges such as stereotyping, gender discrimination, sexual harassment, and violence, women also need to balance domestic work and childcare with holding down a job. Cynthia Saleha's husband allowed her to work outside the home after she convinced him she'd be able to juggle all her different roles.
Yang penting tanggung jawab dari seorang istri itu nggak hilang, dari mulai sebelum berangkat kerja ngurus anak ataupun udah siapin makanan, jadi sih nggak ada masalah.
The 25-year-old mother of one returned to the workforce, taking on a job at High Cups to boost the family's earnings.
Setelah bekerja di High Cups, aku ditaruh di outlet. Di situ aku ngerasa kayak wanita tuh sangat diapresiasi gitu, karena rata-rata pegawainya tuh wanita juga ya. Dan mereka tuh cerita kalau di High Cups itu bisa sangat mengutamakan wanita.
Besides imparting business skills, the company also gives its staff flexibility, allowing them time off to attend to personal matters. Indonesia still has a long and arduous journey towards making strides for women in the workforce, but Indonesians like Kathleen Gondo Utomo are doing what they can to level the playing field, ensuring that women like Ratna and Cynthia grow, along with the businesses they work in.
A boss in the forest. That's how Sung Thi Lan sees herself, but that self-image is hard-won. The 37-year-old is a member of the Hmong Hill tribe in Vietnam's northeast province of Lao Cai. The fifth of 11 children, Lan knows how tough life is for indigenous people in the country's remote and rural areas. Lan started working at a very young age to support her family and took care of her younger siblings.
Thỉnh thoảng lâu lâu là xuống núi, gọi là xuống núi ấy, thì về bản thì mới thấy các bạn được đi học là mới biết đòi bố mẹ, xin bố mẹ đi học. 11 tuổi là có rất là nhiều em, nhí nhố rất là đông. Khi mà xin bố mẹ đi học ấy, bố mẹ không cho đi học ấy, còn bị đánh một trận tơi bời luôn. Nhớ đến cả đời luôn, không bao giờ quên luôn.
Lan's childhood experience underscores the typical barriers facing Vietnam's indigenous people. Of the 54 ethnic groups, the King people account for nearly 90% of the population. The remaining 53 minorities, including the Hmong, are concentrated in remote and mountainous regions.
Ethnic minorities, really, they make up the vast majority of the poor and near poor in Vietnam. There are particular barriers for ethnic minorities, but also particular barriers for women. Some of them include things like Vietnamese literacy.
Lan's parents eventually sent her to school, but she dropped out at the end of the 9th grade. Yearning for education, she returned to classes as a mother of two.
Đẻ được cả hai đứa con rồi, thì là tiếp tục khát khao đi học lắm, lại xin phép chồng. Anh ơi em vẫn muốn đi học. Thì Lan phải chạy ôm để buổi sáng là chạy ôm lên để có tiền đổ xăng. Xong buổi trưa thì tranh thủ từ Sapa là tìm khách chạy ôm đi về nhà để cho con ăn ti. Vừa kiếm tiền để thuê người trông con, vừa kiếm tiền để mua sữa cho con ở nhà học, vừa kiếm tiền đổ xăng mình đi học và vừa kiếm tiền nuôi ăn bữa trưa để mình học ấy. Thật sự cực kỳ khó khăn.
Still, Lan wanted to do more. 4 years ago, she founded Mường Hoa Cooperative with 6 other women in her village in Ta Van. They make and sell products made from traditional ethnic textiles. The business caters to foreign tourists visiting Sapa, a popular tourist destination nearby. Many travelers also come to Ta Van for its scenic beauty and indigenous culture. Lan and the cooperative have helped create jobs for around 400 ethnic women.
Bởi vì ở đây là bà con ở đây là 100% là chị em phụ nữ dân tộc thiểu số đấy đều phải biết thêu thùa, biết dệt vải. Thì khi mà mình lựa chọn con đường thổ cẩm này thì là mình nghĩ là sẽ đi bền vững hơn. Vì sao ạ? Vì giúp được nhiều người. Cái ngành nghề truyền thống của các cụ ngày xưa ấy, mỗi một ngày nó mai một đi một chút. Nếu mình là người mà không nhận ra nó và mình không gìn giữ nó thì dần dần là con cháu của mình không có biết.
The COVID-19 pandemic has hit the cooperative hard, limiting not just tourist arrivals, but also the number of people employed at its workshop. But the business has successfully pivoted online, and monthly sales through social media have increased by 75%.
Vâng, từ lúc tham gia vào hợp tác xã thì em có thêm nhiều việc hơn so với trước đây mà trước đây em đang làm tự do, nhất là trong 2 năm Covid vừa qua. Nên là đã giúp cho em có công ăn việc làm.
Với bản thân em thì em thấy là tạo một cái cơ hội là một cái công việc cho em làm đối với mẹ bỉm nhá. Thì em có những cái thời gian rảnh rỗi thì em vừa chăm sóc em bé và em cũng vừa mới tạo được một cái tài chính riêng cho mình.
As a minority woman running a business, Lan says the biggest challenge was the lack of support from her own family and community.
Trước đây là phụ nữ là hoàn toàn 100% là dựa vào kinh tế của một người đàn ông, một người trụ cột trong gia đình. Sẽ là người là đi kiếm tiền về nuôi gia đình, còn người vợ chỉ ở nhà rồi nấu cám lợn, rồi làm nương làm rẫy, rồi lại có thể đi hái dâu lợn hay là đi đâu đi đó để nội trợ trông chờ người đàn ông để đi kiếm tiền về cho gia đình, và cũng chỉ biết ở nhà cũng sinh con đẻ cái thôi.
Experts say this lack of support is not surprising, but Lan was determined to bring change to her life and the lives of other women around her.
Thì là khi mình mới bắt đầu vào làm thổ cẩm cũng chỉ thấy mọi người làm thổ cẩm mình cũng làm theo thôi. Khi làm theo tại sao mà làm bán mãi mà không bán được? Lý do tại sao? Bởi vì xấu quá. Thế là thất bại rất là nhiều, thế là phải đóng cửa mất mấy năm. Và khi mà mình nghĩ là muốn thành lập hợp tác xã thì là những người xung quanh cũng sợ mình lại tiếp tục thất bại như thế, là mọi người can thiệp. Nhưng ngày hôm nay mình đứng trước công chúng và đứng trước tất cả mọi người rồi tất cả các tổ chức, mình mạnh dạn là mình tao là giám đốc đây. Vừa là trêu vừa thật, nhưng mà có khi là giám đốc gọi là giám đốc rừng thôi.
Along the journey, she's received guidance, training and support from several development agencies and projects. Lan's efforts have helped empower other Hmong women like herself to participate in economic activity and generate their own income. And that's given them a bigger say in decisions affecting their families and communities.
Xóa đói giảm nghèo cho các chị em và cũng là cho gia đình, thì anh cũng thấy nó có một cái rất là tự hào về vợ. Như ví dụ như là nhiều khi thì chị Lan cũng không có thời gian để chăm sóc gia đình. Cái đầu tiên nhất là về cái khó khăn là vấn đề đấy.
Lan's work has also inspired many young girls in Ta Van. 23-year-old Vũ Ngọc Hướng recently returned home after graduating from university in Hanoi. She became a star on Vietnamese social media with her online tours of Sapa during the COVID-19 pandemic. She's working on an idea for a startup tour and travel company to bring further changes to her community.
Em thì may mắn hơn nhiều các chị khác, các cô khác ở quê em chẳng hạn. Bởi vì là em được đi học từ nhỏ, mình được tiếp cận những cái kiến thức tiến bộ, được quyền sống là theo cái đam mê của mình. Câu chuyện của cô Lan cũng truyền cảm hứng cho em rất là nhiều.
The pandemic continues to present new challenges for the cooperative, forcing Lan to reconsider her next business strategy. While many members hope she could scale up the business to give them more jobs and training, her husband is wary of the uncertainties ahead. But Lan isn't ready to give up just yet.
mình luôn luôn tự nhắc mình ấy, bản thân mình luôn phải cố gắng lên, luôn phải vượt, luôn luôn phải kiên trì. Nếu như chỉ vì một thất bại một lần mà mình đã chán nản ấy, mình đã bỏ đi ấy, thì là sẽ không có ngày hôm nay.
She was made to believe she'd been hired as a bartender. Instead, Baby, not her real name, was trafficked into a prostitution ring in Japan decades ago. She was just 17 years old at the time. Far from family and friends, she was to undergo a nightmare of sexual exploitation at the hands of Japanese mafia members. That nightmare would last 2 years until her eventual escape.
Yung makakaroon ka ng customer na yakuza na nandiyan papasukin ka, tapos yung tatanggalin nila yung belt niya, tapos tatalian ka dito. Tapos dumating pa yung time na talagang namamaso talaga sila. Kasi ganun mga yakuza eh. Talagang torture talaga.
Social media and the tech tools meant to crack down on unscrupulous recruiters were still scarce at the time Baby decided to work abroad.
This street here in downtown Manila is never without a crowd. It's lined up with recruiters for overseas employment. And for a major labor exporting country like the Philippines, Filipinos' desire to work abroad for better pay and a chance at a better life is often the bait by which some syndicates prey on unsuspecting workers.
The Philippines urges would-be migrant workers to check its online database of legitimate recruiters when searching for overseas jobs.
Traffickers and illegal recruiters are the bane of law enforcement, particularly this institution, the Philippines National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI.
The chief of the Bureau's Anti-Human Trafficking Division is lawyer Janet Francisco, a mother of 3 and the first woman to head the division.
We know for a fact that they are victimized because of their economic vulnerability. I feel what they're feeling because I've been there, you know.
Mrs. Francisco grew up underprivileged in Manila's slums, but she eventually earned a law degree, entering the country's premier investigative agency 15 years ago. She now leads a group of some 40 people, including associates from other agencies. But law enforcement is a largely male-dominated field. Less than 15% of the NBI's agents are female, based on 2014 data, the latest available. Civil society groups working with trafficked migrant women say that's a barrier that prevents victims from coming forward on top of widespread victim blaming.
Parang sisisi ka pa. Ginusto mo yan eh. Kumbaga parang yan yung buhay na inano mo eh, na pinasok mo. Kung ang babae ay biktima, mas makakatulong kung babae din yung i-investigate sa kanya, mag-i-interview sa kanya.
Mrs. Francisco says whether the complainants are male or female, women are in fact well-positioned for investigative work.
Women investigators are sensitive to the needs of the victims. And with that, it's easier for the victims to disclose information and to be confident in disclosing information to the female investigators. Because I'm a mother, I easily get along very well with the victims.
In 2015, a crack team led by Mrs. Francisco was able to arrest one of the world's most notorious murderer rapists. He ran a global online pedophile ring out of the Philippines. That was neither the first nor the last in a series of remarkable achievements. In her 6 years as division chief, with support secured from partners, she's been able to help set up an interagency cyber tip monitoring center, organize digital forensic training at the division, initiate nationwide trafficking-focused training for investigators, and perhaps most telling of her motherhood, establish a child-sensitive investigation room at the NBI. Here, traumatized children who have been sexually exploited are better able to tell their stories of abuse. A member of the team listens from outside the room as concealed cameras capture the child's conversation with a trained investigator. Mrs. Francisco knocked on doors to secure funding for many of these programs.
The fact that we are able to help these victims secure justice, and the fact that we are also able to arrest their perpetrators are enough reasons for me to go on with what I am doing right now.
Former anti-human trafficking agent Giselle Dumlao now heads the Bureau's legal service. She says it's inspiring to see women thrive at the Bureau.
A woman being promoted to a position of power and a position of influence in a male-dominated institution is a recognition of the unique qualities and professional attributes of a woman investigator. I wish that someday the NBI be headed by a woman director, because women are perceived to be weaker than men, and seeing a woman lead the NBI means breaking that perception.
Mrs. Francisco still hopes to set other reforms in motion, including a regular post-operation debriefing to help agents process any trauma arising from handling sensitive cases. No woman has ever led the entire NBI in its nearly 90-year history. But with trailblazers like Mrs. Francisco creating meaningful changes at the Bureau, it may just be a matter of time.